Chips have been an international issue that's attracts a lot of attention worldwide. Many people wonder why such a small chip have so big an impact on the international economy. Today, our teachers will clarify the cause, obstacles, and challenges from the perspective of physics and economics. Now let's welcome Zhang Xuejing from Physics Group and Ning from Economic Group to share their findings. Now let's welcome.
Hello everyone, I'm Karen. Currently I'm teaching economics in Cambridge International Center, and this is Vivian. Vivian?
Hello everyone. I'm Vivian from Physics Group.
Okay, so let's get started, shall we? So today we're going to present to you Bridging the Classroom to the Outside World, Educator Reflection on the Microchip Crisis Issue. So, let me get started with a very famous picture in the scientific history. I already saw a lot of smiles on your face. Science teachers, please raise your hand. Either you teach us chemistry, physics, or I don't know, anyone else? No, not much biology teachers? Okay, great. So why is this picture famous? Can you recognize anyone from this famous picture? I'll give you a hint. Did you notice this guy sitting in the very center of the front line? Who is he? Yeah, Einstein, right? Albert Einstein. Okay, the most famous one, like he is supposed to have the highest IQ, okay, in the human world. People even started to analyze his brain cell after his death. How about the other lady, the only lady, okay, in this man-dominated world? Who is her? Yeah, it's Adam Curie, right? Sometimes we call it Maria Curie, okay? So that's why they say this is the picture. The most intelligent group in the 20th century, okay, happened in 1927, exactly 95 years ago. Here's a question. How do you know someone's intelligent? How do you define their intelligence? Is there any famous annual event can tell you who's intelligent? What is it? Okay, bored. No, you can't judge a cover by someone's appearance, right? Don't judge a cover by the book. Okay, your teacher should have told you that. Anyone else? Anyone else? What is prize? IQ test? Hey, Nobel Prize. Okay, take a guess. There were 29 of them, participants, attending this Soviet conference. How many of them were nominated and won a Nobel Prize?
All of them.
Yeah, how many?
29.
29? Close. There were only 29. Come on, who told the math? No. So not, yeah, it's close, so close, okay? So actually, there were like 28 out of 29 of them in this picture actually are Nobel Prize winners. Surprisingly, some of them even won twice, okay? So that's why I can tell without them, my middle school life, especially in the science classes, wouldn't be that miserable. Well, if I could, I would born like, a little bit earlier. So have you ever wondered who produces them? Which universities in the world produce those most talented, intelligent people in the history? Thought? Oh, someone said Cambridge. Good guess. Any other university? No? Oxford? All from UK?
Harvard.
Stanford, Harvard. Good. Anyone else from this audience? You're awfully quiet today. Sleepy today? Well, anyway, so I did some checking. Which one? Princeton. Princeton actually is famous. I think Dr. Yang Ning went to that places. Maybe? Okay. So I did some research. So I really wanted to know which top universities that graduated the most Nobel Prize winners in the science field. Because science matters. They ruin our life in a better or worse way. So, exactly happened 100 years ago. In 1921, this chart shows the top 15 universities producing the most Nobel Prize in scientific field. Okay, the top 15 ones, actually, if you read them, from Hamburg to Cambridge, Göttingen, Munich, Paris, Zurich, Strasbourg, okay, a lot of them from small countries in Europe. They're all dominated from Europe, exactly 100 years ago. Top threes, okay, so the university from Hauptingen, University of Berlin, they graduated like 7 Nobel Prize winners. Cambridge, they graduated 6. And University of Göttingen, they graduated 5. Interesting. So, how about now? How about in the 21st century? This was happened like exactly in 20th century, long before my grandma was born. So what happened in 2019, exactly before the COVID-19 burst? A lot of things happened after World War I and II. The world power has shifted from Europe to US. The economy wars changing, and Japan rises, and the economic crisis happened to a lot of people. So what happened to the scientific world? A lot of dominated elite universities in the science field has shifted from Europe to US. How about the top 3? By the year 2019, Harvard University graduated 70 Nobel Prize winners. Cambridge, close, 69. The third one, Columbia. That's a big gap from the second runner, the runner-up to the third one, 39, okay? So here comes the question. Which university has been sending out the best scientist graduates to the world for a century? Which one? The century, 100 years. Oh, you should read the question carefully, especially in exam. So which one? Yes, University of Cambridge. From the beginning to the very end, they were the ones staying in the dominant industry. Probably that's why all the students or the scientific fans, their big dream is to go to the University of Cambridge for over a century, for some reasons. I guess maybe we have some answers for the mystery question. So here comes the next. How did they do that? They're the top universities. But for us as educators, international schools, is there anything else we can learn from them? Thoughts? Have you ever wondered? Maybe one of your students one day is going to become the Nobel Prize winner because of your inspiration. Because one day you'll show them some data. Maybe in another 100 years ago, those powers will shift from Europe to Asia. Maybe you will end up here. So that makes wondering, what kind of students do we want to graduate from Beijing New Talent Academy? Have you wondered that? Well, I did some research from a school, and also I interviewed some of the teachers, the brilliant, wonderful teachers at our school. Okay, so how do we define the 21st century students? They're going to graduate from our school. They're going to embrace all the challenges and tackle the difficult problems, issues in the near future. Something we don't even know when it will happen, just like the COVID-19. They might be the learning engineers who are able to pose the most critical questions and then run the research independently, just like an engineer. And they were the innovators in various industries, be creative, and also pushing the boundaries of the humankind. They might be the trailblazers in arts and science. They could be the future global leaders. There will be some entrepreneurs, okay? Maybe they will found their own companies, international. Maybe they will invest somewhere, okay, on Mars when Elon Musk successfully launched his, X-Space project, hopefully, okay, after 2024. Okay, they could be the problem solvers that tackles the world's most challenging problems. And how do we define those 21st century skills? When our students graduated, what kind of skills they're supposed to acquire? Curiosity? Definitely. If you don't have the curiosity, you lost the ability to ask questions. If you're afraid of making mistakes, how are you going to break the rules? People are going to find you. And growing mindset, we said we embrace those challenges and challenge them back. That's why sometimes when I was teaching the class, I feel like we were just like dancing with the students, we inspiring each other. So much fun. And also, global perspectives. If you live in a very mobile world, you need to have the global perspective, understand what other people are thinking in a different way. Last but not least on this list also includes interdisciplinary literacy. And the list goes on. Depends on what you want. So, let's get back to our microchip crisis. It is such a viral issue everybody's talking about. Have you ever wondered why do microchips matter in our life? Look at the picture. Think about what kind of devices do you think may need to use the microchip that empower them? Thoughts? From the self-driving car? And maybe if you're a big fan of video games, you can get the most latest Pico 4 VR video, bring you to the mega universe. Or if you're a big fan, addicted to your cell phone, to all the smart devices. Or when you go back home, you will have a smart home system, all empowered by those microchips. So the reason we pick microchip is because it is one of the most complex feats and remarkable achievements in humankind history. It changes our lives. It changes the way we interact with the world. After all, when you have more smart devices, you live a smart life. Then, how do we solve this problem? Microchips, they're in high demand, but the supply cannot go with their high demand. So there will be some shortage in supply. How can we solve it? So here is the map, processing to tell you how many steps is included in a microchip manufacture, starting from instruction set, architecture, to chip design, fabrication, engineering, equipment, software, last but not least, packaging. So if you teach those subjects, think about which subject knowledge will be applied in this microchip manufacture. Physics. Okay, anything else? Chemistry, good job. Computer science. What do you teach? Computer science? No, wow, you're multi-talented. You teach English, good. Anything else? Math? Math, oh, I missed that from the list. Of course you need to learn about math. Yeah, right. So actually, all of the above, even though they were playing different roles in the process, but they all need to collaborate together. And that's why in our classroom learning, we need to prepare our students to step into the world working on some solutions for the global challenging questions with integrated knowledge and skills from various subjects. Here's the question. Such a difficult world, even human like adults, they can't even find a solution. You think the kids, teenagers, right? They're like so rebellious, saying no to everything you want them to do. They can tackle this problem? You think it's able? How many of you think like students probably they can find some solutions to that? Only one? Aww. How many of you think like maybe they cannot? Raise your hand. See, no one thinks so. So what about for those who are not participating? You're behaving exactly like some of my students. You're pretending, listening, but you're not participating. Okay, but actually, the answer we think is yes. So from this outside world, we have the real world case, microchip shortage in supply. And we think actually we can connect them to our classroom learning activities. The question is, how? Now I would like to invite my partner, Vivian. She's going to discuss how do we apply the global chip crisis case in our classroom learning in terms of physics perspective.
Hello, everyone. As a physics teacher, I'd like to link what we have learned in class to chip industry. Get our students understand the chip crisis and have their own idea of how to solve this problem finally. Speaking of chips, I must introduce a physicist. He's a two-time Nobel Prize in Physics winner, Zhang. And the first time is in 1956 for his research of transistor effect. It was based on this research our modern chips are made. Students already learned the semiconductor material and their special properties. And it is because these special properties, people can transfer our real life, we say analog signals into zeros and ones, we say digital signals. And people want to do calculations between these zeros and ones. So we designed the simplest logic gates like this in the textbook. And the logic diagram on chips are composed based on these simple logic gates. And then we can transfer this logic diagram to circuit diagram. And finally, transfer the circuit diagram to a photo mask like this. So far, the students have already have a basic understanding of chip design. It is not difficult process. The main reason for chip crisis is the manufacturing process. To produce chips, we need to print the circuit on the mask on the silicon wafer. It seems quite easy, right? But the implementation is extremely difficult. Even the machine used in this process, the lithography machine, is called the crown jewel of semiconductor industry because the circuit on the silicon wafer is extremely tiny. The manufacturing of lithography machine involves a wide range of high precision science and technology. To produce lithography machine, people have been looking for more shorter light sources. The shorter the wavelength, the higher the precision will be achieved. And portable and energy efficient equipment will be produced using these high precision chips. So how to get more shorter wavelengths is a good question for students. Let's see how engineers think about it. In lithography market, the most well-known is a Dutch company, ASML. Here's a story about it. Before 2000, Canon and Nikon dominated the lithography market. And in 2002, a Chinese named Benjamin Ning was invited to a microchip seminar in the United States. He was originally just an embellishment for the meeting, but at this meeting, he talked about his immersion lithography technique. He proposed using water instead of air as the medium between the lens and the silicon wafer. It is quite easy principle students already learned in our class. And Nikon quickly abandoned this proposal considering the cost and the risk. But ASML decided to give it a try. 2 years later, in 2004, Nikon advanced the line-wise on chips from 193 nanometer to 157 nanometer, while ASML advanced this data to 134 nanometer. Finally, now ASML has become the dominant player on lithography market, and the line-wise today has been advanced to 3 to 5 nanometers. Can we make the line-wise advanced further using the lithography technique? The answer is probably no. Gordon Moore, one of the founders of Intel, predicted that the number of transistors that can be placed on an affordable integrated circuit will double during every 18 to 24 years, and the price will reduce to half. It fits well in the past 40 years, but now the line-wise has advanced to 3 to 5 nanometers. The chemical and the physical properties has changed, and the error rate will be increased greatly. So the limit of lithography technique will be soon, will reach the limit soon. Is there no way we can break this limit? Maybe it will be broken in another way. Last month, the Nobel Prize in 2022 was awarded to 3 physicists for their research on quantum entanglement and quantum communication. In the future, the production of chips maybe no longer need a lithography machine. The quantum chips will be the next generation. Compared to the traditional semiconductor chips, the quantum chips has I'm so sorry. The computing power of quantum chips will be increased greatly. This gives us hope, but there are still many technical barriers to break, and this needs the efforts of our students and our next generation. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Vivian, for a wonderful discussion in the physics perspective. Now let's get back to learn some economics. Are you ready? I'm going to talk about how we apply the global chip cases in the classroom learning from economics perspectives. Okay, so if you learn from either your politics class or some basic economic classes, you should know everything we produced, we should use the vectors of productions. 4 of them, they include the natural resources, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So let's analyze them one by one in the microchip process. First, we need to abstract the silicon from the sand. So do you think we have sufficient sand on Earth? Yes? That's a question or answer? Yes? Oh, of course. Sand is actually one of the top 10 most common elements found on the Earth. So that's a good sign. How about labors? Look at the picture. Any different from the picture you usually see? What are they wearing? Fully covered, right? Why? Because the production environment is highly restricted. You cannot allow any dust in the process of production. Otherwise, it will ruin everything. And also the light, because light may change the wavelength if you listen to Vivian carefully. So that's why they can only use the yellow light. So in order to able to operate in such a restricted environment, we need to train skillful, highly specialized workers. So do you think we have a lot of them? Probably not. You're shaking your head. Yeah. So we're not good at, training those laborers. Need to work on for that. How about capital? So in Vivian's introduction, we already learned about there's only one company in the world actually can produce those kinds of machines. The crown jewelry, right? It's from Dutch. So basically, it's the only player dominate the whole industry. We call that monopoly. So you think we have a sufficient supplier in this capital equipment industry? No. Oh, right now we have 1 versus 2. Let's see the last one. We need to have some entrepreneurs. They are the ones able to organize those resources, put them together to make things happen in a successful way. They're willing to take the risk. When the majority says no, and you say yes, and you're going to prove them they're wrong. So someone step up and is going to take all the resources and let it to the production process. So Tasma, actually, they dominate more than 50% of the microchips, especially in the high-end 3 to 5 nanometers industry. So overall, we don't have a good picture looking at those factors influencing our production. So how is it going to affect their prices? In our economics class, students are learning how the demand and supply is going to define the price. If they can define the price of the chips, it's going to determine the price of your smart devices, the next generation of iWatch, iPhone, your smart devices, your Tesla electric cars, right? So let's say we have a supply and demand curve, and the intersect is the price. So because there's a high demand increasing in electronic devices, how would the demand curve shift? It's shifting to the right. Thus, the price will increase. Now let's look at our vectors productions. Because we don't have sufficient supply in the labor or capital or entrepreneurs, that's why the supply curve will shift to the left. Hence, the price increase again. Now that explains why Apple cannot produce enough super smart devices, even though they can make a lot of money, because they just cannot. Also, we have some other factors. Here's the question for you after this seminar. Think about how would those factors affect the price? Would it increase them or decrease them? So let's summarize. Why do we need to link our textbook to the real world case? Is it necessary? Some people just say, probably it's not even tested in exam. Who cares? Do you? So we think, as Vivian said, in the classroom, usually what we learn, even the most complicated math questions, they are the oversimplified models from the real world. And in the real world, we have complicated real-world issues. You don't always know how to think until you're placed in the real workplace. So there is a disconnection between those two. And what is the role of the teachers in this situation? We are the link. We are here to bridging them from the classroom to the outside world. So, what is the role of the 21st century educators here at the Beijing New Talent Academy? We think life is just like a journey. Our students, they want different things at their destination. Maybe they want to be entrepreneurs or go to famous universities or be top leaders in a science field. And we are here to accompany them. But can we really go all the way along to the very end with that? I have no idea. It depends on how long I can live. But I think even one teacher's effort, just like a wind, breathe a little bit, push this ship one step closer to the destinations. And we, the teachers, with our collaborated effort, breathing together, we can send this ship to the destinations. And in the near future, when they graduated from the BNTA, they will be able to take all the challenges and overcome all the difficulties in the real world independently and successfully. And that time, you'll be so proud of yourself being part of their journey. So would you join us in our dreams? This is the future we envision in the education industry here. And thank you, everyone.